Right.
You are a Grenadian through and through and through.
Right. I was born in England, London, England, living in US right now.
Wonderful. So this morning we were talking about hypertension, diabetes.
Correct.
And diabetes, and certainly we can well appreciate that it is two medical conditions that has grabbed the attention of the medical world and has become one of those communicable diseases that literally has transformed our society in terms of the impact that it is having. So let us start on hypertension. If we can, we start with diabetes. Put it into perspective for me. When we talk about diabetes, hypertension, what exactly are we referring to? Let's start with diabetes.
Okay.
What is diabetes?
They're both two separate illnesses, but very important to the African diaspora community, being from whether you're from, Grenada, Africas, or the Americas. Diabetes is one. They're both, by the way, not communicable. They are usually it's hereditary illnesses.
Yes, correct. Yes,
you don't catch it from someone who has it. Let's talk about diabetes first, which is kind of one of the leading causes of blindness. It's known as sugar. So, your common person will call it I have sugar. Normal sugar levels are usually between, if you check it yourself daily, between 70 to 110. What happens is you need sugar as energy, your body. And sugar gives your body energy. However, you need something by the name of insulin, which your pancreas produces. Insulin helps sugar facilitate within the cells of the body so your body could burn sugar. Now, if that doesn't happen, diabetes is when there's too much sugar in your body and your body's not getting to burn it. And that's what they call actual diabetes or sugar. The reasons why you would get diabetes is one reason, either which happens with babies or teenagers, your body starts attacking the pancreatic cells that produce insulin, and that's called type 1 diabetes, where you're not producing sugar, or which most people have in general when, normally you're becoming over 30 years old or maybe overweight, sedentary. What happens is your body becomes resistant to the insulin going in the cell. It becomes or it either just produces less. Normally, a lot of cholesterol and becoming overweight, things like that could cause it. And that's when your sugar raises. That's what happens. So that's diabetes. Too much sugar in the body. So it could affect you.
Right. So in short, and I'm happy that you said it, because in our local, in a small territory, that's a term that you hear.
Right.
I have sugar. Yeah.
I have sugar. Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
I have sugar. That's what we say
what I heard
in the small islands.
Exactly.
In Grenada.
Right. Everyone's on all sides of my family, so they all have it. They're like, "Oh, I have sugar." I've got sugar in the blood. That's how they refer.
So is there different types of diabetes?
Okay. Repeat that. Sorry.
Is there different types of diabetes?
Right, there's two main types, as I said. Type 1 is what, as a baby or a young teenager, the body could attack itself sometimes. They call these autoimmune issues, where the body just attacks the pancreatic cells. Now, your pancreas is a cell very close to your stomach. And what it does is when you eat something or so, your body's going to break these down to sugar for your body to burn. Mm-hmm. What the pancreas does, it releases insulin from a cell full of beta cells. And this insulin is like what we call a catalyst. Don't want to get too much into terms, but a catalyst is something that causes a reaction without itself becoming part of the reaction. The insulin helps the sugar facilitate, get into the cell. And that's how you have energy. Like a lot of people, they run and after they feel like something sweet, like a sweet drink or sugar or Gatorade. That's because they're craving the sugars back in the cell. And that's what you use, and you burn energy that way. But you don't want it too high in your bloodstream. Right. Because if it doesn't get into the cell, that's where you start having secondary issues, which we could speak about as time goes on.
Secondary issues, probably is a good time. So how do you determine are there telltale signs that one can feel, see, to know that the onset is there?
Okay, what happens is if your sugar's too high in the blood, you and the insulin doesn't put it in your cells. That's, as I said, that's called diabetes. You have three symptoms. They call it, you have excessive thirst feeling, a feeling of excessive hunger, and you feel like you want to urinate a lot, more than normal. So these are the signs to make you know, look, you know what? Maybe something's going on. I need to see the doctor. I'm feeling thirsty more than normal. I keep drinking water. I'm always feeling hungry, even though I just ate recently. Because you know you're eating, your body's producing the sugar, and your body's giving you that signal, hey, you're still hungry because the sugar's not coming in your cell. It's not burning the energy. Now, because you got a lot of sugar in your body, when you have a lot of salt or sugar in the body, water tends to flow where sugar and water is. So you start urinating a lot more. Because now your body's trying to get rid of that sugar in the body. So you what would they say? You pee more than normal for men and women, you know.
But let me ask you, though, Solomon, because one of course, we want the public to be able to appreciate what's happening. And while we're at it, though, we want to say thanks to our friends at Nurses Care Grenada, who certainly they're responsible for us being on this morning, having this conversation. Good morning, Marilyn, and good morning to you, Mel. I know that they are listening. When you say you pee more, because somebody, and we keeping the language simple, because somebody may ask, well, what would you determine as being me going off, peeing more, urinating more? So,
well, okay, listen for example, we all have, we all grow up and we know how many times we go to the bathroom. Maybe we wake up in the night once or twice or not.
Right.
And, maybe you'll go every hour. Now, when you say more, it's something unusual for you. Like maybe you go bathroom while you're up, every 2 hours. And you're finding now, you're going like once an hour or twice an hour, or during the night, you may wake up once in the night to go urinate or pee or twice a night, and now you're going like 5 times.
Right.
So you're peeing more than normal. Number 2, you may have regular just 3 meals and you don't feel hungry usually, but now as time is going on, you feel like eating every 2 hours. So you know what I mean? It depends on the barometer for that particular person. They're going to notice a change. And also like drinking, maybe you're a person who drinks 8, glasses a day, depending on how you work. Maybe you're inside in an air-conditioned environment. You'll drink maybe less than being outside where it's really hot. You drink more, maybe 10, 20 glasses. However, in your same environment, you're going to find yourself drinking more than usual. So the person's going to realize the change.
Right.
That's normally with type 2 diabetes, as I said. Type 2 isn't where the body attacks the pancreas. It's just that maybe the person has a lot of cholesterol, or the diet they put weight on, or they, become a bit obese. They're over 30 years old, the body's going through changes, and now the body's becoming resistant to the insulin, or not facilitating it within the cell as much. So that's the other type of diabetes. But it's the same underlying thing. Sugar goes high and stays in the veins, instead of going in the cell.
I'm getting the sense, though, Solo, that for a person suffering with diabetes, that they become the first doctor in terms of they need to pay attention to what's happening in their body.
Exactly. Which happens with a lot of things. What gets us to the doctors is, hey, I've got a cut here, I have a sore here, I feel a pain here. Like, what they say in medical school. I'm a registered nurse by profession, by the way, but, I used to work with a few doctors, and there was one particular doctor, how you have your check engine lights on in your car, your body signals something's wrong, it's pain. Hey, I've got a toothache, you go dentist, they find out you may have a cavity. You have a pain in the stomach, it doesn't go away, or it's always nagging, you go doctor, and then they check you out, and they find a problem. So always pay attention to things like pain and your body's symptoms, things that maybe change, become different. That's your body's signs, And then when you go to the doctor, they'll say, they'll look for what they call symptoms. As I said, the diabetic symptoms are, medically they call it polyphagia, which is excessive thirst. Polyphagia, excessive eating. Polyphagia, dyspepsia, excessive thirst, and polyuria, excessive urination. These are known as, the symptoms. And when you have those symptoms, they do tests, which are blood tests to find out exactly if you're diabetic or not.
So for those of you, we keeping our eyes on the clock. 16 minutes actually gone past the hour of 9 o'clock. Solo, it's 15 after 8 on your side. 15 after 8.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
15 after 8 on your side.
My clock's actually showing 18 after 8 on my computer. So
okay.
Yeah. Flew already, yeah.
Time is flying. For those of you that just joining me, and my guest this morning, Solomon Fernand, is a registered nurse practicing in the U.S. And this morning we're talking about the non-communicable diseases that of hypertension and diabetes. Our first, we started to focus on diabetes, and we want to shift now to hypertension.
Okay.
We, as West Indians, Caribbean people, Saul, as you can well appreciate, we love to have our food tasting real good. We like it spicy, so we season it up, and sometimes it's part of what we inherit, that culture of just putting a little bit extra salt in our diet, in our meals, so as they say, granny say, to get the taste, to elevate the taste. And that's a culture that we've inherited, but unfortunately, it's become a double-edged sword, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. In the African community, Caribbean community in general, we love spicy foods, high in sodium. Now, sodium is important. However, sodium has a issue where it could raise your blood pressure. Now, blood pressure, let me tell you what that is. Blood pressure, there's two numbers usually. Normal pressure is 120/80. The 120 means while the heart is constricting, the force going through the heart is 120. When the heart is relaxed, that's what they call like the diastolic or the low part, the lower number, and that's the heart under relaxation. Now, you do not want too much force going through the heart while it's either pumping or relaxed. That is what they call actual pressure, and too much pressure could destroy the capillaries. Like you have vessels, your main vessels, and small capillaries, and it could cause, again, just like diabetes, this could cause secondary issues, especially like kidney problems, It's a leading cause of kidney issues. It's known as a silent killer because it could enlarge the heart, it gives you heart problems, things like that. So you mentioned salt, which is good. There's something they call a DASH diet. D for dietary, A for approach, S to stop hypertension. There's a seasoning called Mrs. Dash. I'm not sure if they sell it in Grenada, but it's low in sodium, and the approach to control your blood pressure, which cannot be treated, but it could be controlled, is to, take foods that are very, that are low in sodium. Right. And non-processed meat. A lot of processed foods, unfortunately, they kind of, put them in they put them in a lot of salt. You go around, you'll see bacalao, salt. Everywhere you go,
Right.
Pork, salt, everything has salt to preserve the food. But that's not really good for our bodies.
When you did mention that there were some telltale signs, indicators that one can use to determine whether or not they may or may not be diabetic. So the extra urge for hunger, the excessive increased visitations to the washroom. Are they similar telltale signs that one can indicators for hypertension?
And here's the thing, the truth is no. That's why there's a nickname for blood pressure called the silent killer, because one does not always know that they have high blood pressure until it's a lot of times too late. High blood pressure can cause kidney problems, problems with the eyes, problems with your heart, a lot of secondary problems. And these problems don't show up until a lot later in life sometimes. The only way you know to diagnose with blood pressure medically, normally they say you have to go to the doctor at least 3 separate occasions and have a high reading. And as I said, since normal reading is 120/80, say that if you get a reading, say like about 140/90 and above that, 3 consecutive times, they may consider you having blood pressure. And then, but blood pressure now, it doesn't go away, but it can be controlled through medication. Okay.
And
Right.
as within one of it is often said that these are lifestyle. The best way to treat these conditions
Right.
is
Right.
through
Your
lifestyle changes.
Right, your lifestyle. Correct.
Lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
25 minutes gone past. 25 minutes gone past the hour. We have to take a commercial break, Solomon. But when we come back, we look at living with these two conditions. Is treating with it, to treatment for each of it, and we look at, of course, is it contagious, is it hereditary, and how does it affect the body. Again, we want to say thanks to our friends from Nurses Care Grenada for certainly ensuring having you on, Solomon, to be part of this morning's engagement. We take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right here on Classic and GBN Television in the morning time.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements, or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Foliage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Thank you. Welcome back to the program. To the point for today, the 6th day of the month of December. My guest this morning, Solomon Fernand, a registered nurse practicing in the U.S. And this morning, our country, we were speaking about diabetes and hypertension. Solomon, thank you. Welcome back to the program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. So we've started the conversation by highlighting what is diabetes, what is hypertension, and we've both agreed that it is what we refer to as lifestyle diseases.
Lifestyle changes control the disease.
In order to bring about some change. So we've highlighted some of the signs, the telltale signs, and we did say that hypertension is what is referred to as a silent killer. Unlike diabetes, that would give you some indicators once you're conscious enough and you pay attention to those changes in your bodies. How do we treat diabetes? And for the purpose of those of you, the viewers and listeners, keep in mind that you can call in with your questions, queries, or comments. 435-2041 as the numbers as indicated on the screen, or you can post your questions via the WhatsApp portal, 435-2041, or you can post it via the other social media platforms, be it Facebook. We've identified. Sorry, you were saying?
No, you were asking me how would you treat it. What I was saying is the treatment for both, let's stick with diabetes for now. For both, usually, your treatment should go along with your doctor. First thing, if it's possible not to take medications and use diet as in everything. With diabetes, if you could control how much sugar you take, not to eat too much carbs that convert into sugars, eat fruits, eat vegetables, and eat foods that are not too sugary. That could control your sugar and lower it a bit, but you should also do it along with your doctor's recommendations. Sometimes when you have type 2 diabetes, Your doctor may give you tablets which help your better cells produce more insulin. Sometimes if it's bad enough and it's really high, you may sometimes need to take insulin, but that's not always the case. Someone who usually would have type 1 diabetes where they're not producing any insulin would need to take insulin as a supplement to help the sugar get in the body. So that's normally the case. Because normally when someone has an autoimmune issue, it may destroy the pancreatic cells. This person, over 90% of the cell being destroyed, tablets wouldn't really help to try to get the pancreas to produce more, with a type 1. So it'll be insulin they would have to use, and that would help control the sugar. And that's what we need to do, because diabetes is one of the leading causes of blindness, next to cataracts and glaucoma. It also leads to things like peripheral artery disease. It kind of plays around with the small capillaries in the body, where you get what they call neuropathy. Like people may feel their toes tingling, legs tingling, circulation not running well. The eyes, they, become in the retina. You're not supposed to have any veins in there. But what happens with diabetes, it starts making what we call neovascularized veins grow into the retina. And, sometimes they will burst, and you'll hear someone say, like, they got blood in the eye. You don't see the bloodshot out of the eye, but it's in the eye, and that kind of starts decreasing vision, and it could lead to things like retinal detachments and so forth. What people normally, sugar, when you have a lot of sugar, you also don't get so much oxygen around. So a lot of people, they have sores easy on the foot, or they get cuts, it doesn't heal. You hear about people, long time ago, you'll hear, they got gangrene, they had sugar, and they cut the foot off, or amputated the foot. What happens is the peripheral parts of our body, when you're having an issue, like they already have a hard time getting oxygen to things like your fingers and your feet. So these are the structures that kind of tend to suffer with the diabetes, So that's a complication of it. But hopefully I answered that question for you regarding the diabetes.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. You're live. Your question, please. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, good morning. You're live. Go ahead.
Yes. Sometimes we are given the impression that hypertension is only caused by sodium, but this is not the case. There are many things that elevate your blood pressure. I'll give you 2 examples. The lack of sleep is one, excessive alcohol is another, and it goes on and on and on. Quite a lot of things that elevate your blood pressure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller.
Okay.
Solomon, do you want to add to that?
Okay, well, I didn't really hear what he was saying too well. I'm trying to hear.
So
I just heard something about alcohol. I heard the word alcohol.
So he was highlighting the fact that outside of sodium, that lack of sleep and alcohol are 2 contributing factors to hypertension.
There's also, I wouldn't say lack of sleep per se. I mean, normally when you don't sleep, a lot of people are stressed and they don't sleep for some reason. That could lead to stress. Stress could lead to high blood pressure. But the thing is, it doesn't cause high blood pressure. There is not a known cause for blood pressure. That's why it's known as a silent killer. There are symptoms. Some people say, I have a headache. It's blood pressure or they're stressed. Maybe that person may have it because of that. But medically, there's not a known reason why a person may have blood pressure. They do know that salt is a contributing factor. Now, a person not sleeping and under stress, when you're under stress, your adrenal glands release, you have like aldosterone and corticosteroids, which are like, say, a lot of salts come out and sugars, and these could raise your blood pressure. But it doesn't mean that's the cause of the pressure, you know what I mean? So staying calm, meditating is good, and keeping your diet healthy is good in controlling these things, but there's no cure for the blood pressure. And medically, there's no reason on what causes blood pressure. They just know why you have blood pressure. A lot of sodium, maybe your vessels are constricted, so they give you there's medicines they give you, like there's a general one, A, B, C, D. A for what they give you what they call ACE and ARBs to protect your kidneys. They give you what they call beta blockers. Beta blockers are known to slow down the heart rate and therefore reduce the blood pressure. There are medicines called calcium channel blockers which work on the vessels, dilating the vessels, which can help bring down the blood pressure. And there are diuretics. People tell you it's like a well-known one is Lasix. They tell you they're peeing a lot. Getting rid of a lot of fluid also to bring down the blood pressure. But there's ways to control it, but not necessarily cure blood pressure in that regard. Yeah, we're skipping between blood pressure and diabetes.
And that is fine. That is fine.
Yeah.
We notice it more and more that young people, traditionally when we had a conversation surrounding hypertension and diabetes, it was one that was specific traditionally to adults.
Right.
Now we have an increase in cases, in alarming rates of juvenile diabetes.
Exactly.
Can we focus on that for a while, on that that emerging culture?
Right. What I would have to say for that, we become a culture where everyone likes things sweet all of a sudden. Before, people when I was growing up, will have candies or sweets, but not so much. Now everything's sweet. Mars bars, Wrigley's chewing gums. I mean, not to say anything about any company, but everyone putting chewing gums in their mouth, sweet candies. You're just relaxing. Someone's giving you a sweet, and a lot of younger people are putting on more weight and they're a lot more sedentary than they used to be. Everyone was out before playing soccer, football, or cricket. Now everyone's inside on a computer and a lot more sedentary. So a lot of young people are putting on weight and getting a form of that secondary type 2. The only thing is, if you're young and you're a teenager and you get it, the doctors will have to now decide, is it a type 1 where the body's attacking itself, or is it type 2? You know what I mean? So that's for the doctor. But it's our lifestyle, of course, in a lot of these things. It's how we're living, and as the caller did say, like in the Caribbean, I know a lot of guys we like partying or liming or how people call it. Alcohol, you go somewhere, people are taking out food, a lot of carbs, a lot of alcohol, that could lead to things like, it's not good for diabetes, and it's not good for blood pressure. Alcoholism.
Hold, I thought we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're alive?
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I test my pressure this morning and it was 120/74. Because, I'm hypertensive. And another thing is that I usually use a lot of lettuce, like, even though if I use cooked soup or anything, I use lettuce as well. And finally, I like to find out, a lot of people have blood pressure machines. And I want to know if they're really accurate, if that usually be the right reading. Because sometimes a doctor said once upon a time that sometimes they're not really accurate. So I'd like a little info more on that, please. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, caller. Sola?
I'm hearing you, but I couldn't hear your caller.
So she was highlighting the fact that she's hypertensive, and she made 2 points that she uses a lot of lettuce as part of her dietary supplement. And she was asking the question as it relates to the blood pressure machines. How effective are they in terms of giving accurate readings?
Actually, you know what? I'm not recommending any particular brand, but they're pretty accurate. I recommend people try to buy a blood pressure monitor like this, if possible. They're pretty cheap. They sell them in America. These are pretty accurate. They use them in a lot of medical doctors' offices. You can put it over your arms yourself, And you see there's a red line here, a yellow and a green.
Right.
Green gives you an indication that it's okay. Yellow is a warning. Red means you're having an issue to see your doctor. These are pretty accurate, and everyone should buy these at home. Everybody should have one of these. You know, I recommend everyone have this. They're pretty accurate, a blood pressure machine. If you use the older-fashioned ones, that would determine, you know, you're going to go determinant on the person checking it. But these electronic ones are pretty accurate. You know, as long as they look like these, they come in different brandings.
Right.
So if someone can see these, I recommend every home should have one of these, especially for those who have blood pressure. I'll also recommend a pulse ox. Not too many people get these, but you know, it could check your pulse rate. You press it, you put your finger in, it gives you your pulse rate and your oxygen level. And this is, let me see, mine's beating at about 100, or just below 100. My heart rate's normally a bit fast, but if you see here 97% oxygen I'm getting, this is really good for your pulse and your heart rate as well to have at home, especially during the COVID time. Not to get into COVID, but
right.
People who have having a problem breathing would see a lower percent. And this is known as a pulse ox, this machine. This one someone should have that in a home as well as possible.
While you made mention of that, what are the optimum readings that one should see in terms of the pulse and the oxygen level? Okay,
now you don't want a pulse rate over 100. Your pulse rate should normally be between 60 and 100. If it's over 100, they call it tachycardia. Maybe you may want to see your doctor. You may have something going on with the heart. Your oxygen saturation should be, usually will give you like 99% here. It could go up to 100, but this one only reads 2 readings. So I'm not going to see on this one over 100 or about 100 for O2 sat. 99, like normally they'll say like anything from like 94 to 99 is okay.
Right.
A lot of people below 94, going below 90, they normally try to put them on a respirator, or they have, breathing issues. Mine is in the 97s. I do suffer from something called sleep apnea, which is a breathing issue. So that's one of the reasons why I'm having a low O2 sat when we're checking it right now. Okay, so that's good to have.
435-2041, that's the number to get on the inside. Feel free. You can also submit your questions, queries via the WhatsApp portal or via the Facebook page. In case you joining us, my guest this morning is Solomon Fernand, a registered nurse in the U.S. Solomon, time is of the essence.
Right.
If left untreated, diabetes, hypertension,
they could be very, very, very dangerous for you. The thing is, having these things, especially over a long term, diabetes could cause, by the way, I just want to mention some other symptoms regarding diabetes so users know. There are sometimes people may have scratching in their ears a lot, or the skin feels itchy, sudden weight loss. There's something called acetone. Women take it off with their nails, like an alcohol type of smell to the breath, having nausea, vomiting. These type of symptoms could also mean a person may have diabetes without cutting you. Now, get into left untreated. If left untreated, as I said, diabetes could lead to things like blindness. A lot of times it causes like what we call cellulitis. Like people get cuts on the skin, it doesn't heal well. You look at their legs, it doesn't look well. The legs look dark, they look black. The toes look, really dark. They cannot even feel. A person may step on a nail and they have so much diabetic neuropathy, meaning they don't feel on the feet well, that their foot's cut, they don't even know. So, when you see older people in your families around while you're around, Grenada, Carriacou, Pitamatic, and maybe they don't notice they have a cut on the feet's dark, something's off, maybe get them doctors there. And nurses care of Grenada, They also have doctors who could, and nurses who could go out and check. They could also check. The populace in the areas, certain areas. They have nurses in different areas who can go out. I know they're established in Grenada right now, and they're kind of trying to get more established on the island of Carriacou, But the main thing is checking yourself for everyone. I want to have people know that these things may not be able to be cured, but they can be controlled, and they could stop the incidence of a lot of people needing what they call dialysis and kidney problems and amputations, losing their feet, Be careful with people with diabetes taking alcohol. Their loved ones could kind of control how much alcohol they take over the holidays or when partying and how much sugar they get. Because, people are used to taking things. They don't want to change these habits. So, it's up to the family to intercede as well for their health.
We have a caller on the line. Solo, good morning, caller. You're alive. Good morning, caller. Hello. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Yes, you're live. Your question, please.
Yes, I suffer from high blood pressure, and
Caller, is it possible that you can turn down the device that's in the background?
Yes, and I did some blood work the other day. And my kidney.
Caller, hello.
Hello.
I'm still picking up. There is a device that's running in the background. Is it possible you can either step away from it or turn the volume down?
Yes, I said I suffer from high blood pressure, and I did some blood work the other day, and my kidney rate was 70. I want to know if that's a problem.
What is it that was 70?
My kidneys.
Solomon?
Okay. I'm here listening. I heard her say she did some tests the other day and her kidneys was at 70.
At 70, yes.
Now, you know what? I would tell her, I'm never going to overstep what a doctor would have to say as a nurse. But I'm not sure what level was 70. Each kidney puts out like about what we call 60 mLs every hour, like 60. So she'll have to see what that 70 is, with a doctor. A doctor's going to be able to tell her is it within normal limits or not. But I would tell her that stay away from the salts because both diabetes and blood pressure could affect your kidneys. They both do that. Blood pressure damages the kidneys by the force of blood going through the kidneys. That's why they give what they call ACE or ARBs, what they call ACE and angiotensin converting enzymes or ACE receptor blockers to patients. The kidneys are destroyed by diabetes in regards to when it's too high the sugar, you build up what they call ketones. There's something called ketoacidosis because of diabetes, and that destroys the kidneys as well. So, she needs to check the doctor regarding her lab because every lab has different values. And, I'm not sure what value they're using on the lab that she has. You get what I'm saying? One lab may use a parameter and it's normal for that lab. Another lab would use something else. And right now, she's just giving the number 70, but I don't know 70 what? 70 mLs of output or,
Thank you.
It's hard to tell.
We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Yes, sir. I just was thinking, listening to different things, I was wondering, could the doctor tell me, in his opinion or from his studies, where does sickness and diseases originate? Thank you.
Okay, she wanted to know where does the illness originate?
Where does sickness and illness originate?
Okay, what I would tell her, the sickness and the illness originates either from, number one, our lifestyle, number two, hereditary. Everything's doing with DNA. We have DNA, and based on family DNA, our body's going to work according to the DNA structure, which is hereditary. And then we have a choice where diseases could come based on lifestyle. There's an old, getting into metaphysics, all this is, There's something they call dis-ease. If your body's at ease and you're balanced, everything's all right. But if you're off balance, then you're diseased, you know? That's where the word disease comes from, like not being balanced. So do what you can do to keep yourself balanced. Walking, exercising with the blood pressure, eating right, eating low sodium for blood pressure. It's also good for diabetes, you know, eating low. How I would say, one of those diets we used to use, nowadays everything has sodium in it. Everything has preservatives in it. Preservatives could destroy bacteria in your stomach. You know, the old time diet, like a lot of vegetables, a little bit of carbs, a bit of meat, but not too much salt in the meats. You know, fish, chicken, not too much red meats if possible, you know. Things like that would help you with diets. If we party now and again and we have these other foods now and again, no problem, but not in excess to the point where it's detrimental to your body.
Moderation is a key word.
Right, correct. Moderation, correct.
Sorry, we're running out of time, but you hinted earlier about the support role that families can play in helping one manage and deal with sicknesses, ailments as a whole. Can we spend the next few minutes expounding on that?
Okay, for example, I'm a nurse myself, and I should know better sometimes. I'm diabetic. And, you know, I've always had a lot of sugar now and again. You know, the holidays, you may have a cake here, and you may want a little drink here and so forth. I have adult children, you know, ages 24 to 30. And sometimes I'm like, hey, Daddy, you know what, you had enough cake. You know, I may take a piece of cake, and it's a nice black cake, for example, and some sorrel, and sorrel's already sweet, and I may want to go for a second glass. The intercession on not helping your parents maybe not go over, and telling, you know, like, for yourself, when you have an illness, you're not going to think of yourself. But, you know, you always think of your family member, your loved one, your father, your mother. So it's really for, you have a mother or father, brother, sister, they have this illness, it's for you to kind of try to intercede and not let them go over. It's like a person, you know how they say, maybe the person has a problem drinking, an alcoholic, and they're going to drive. It's for you to say, look, you had enough to drink, don't drive or whatnot. Intercede when you know someone has an illness who's around you. And that could also help, especially if they'll listen to you. Does that make sense? You know, you have to be your brother's keeper
right.
as well.
And the truth is, very often when you have to deal with any ailment, normally there is the lack of acceptance, you know, and I think that's probably where the healing first starts, acknowledging what your situation is,
what you have,
and allow your family to support you,
support you
in terms of reducing on, so you make a collective decision on what you cook, how much sodium is included, ensuring you get enough rest and all those different sort of things.
Right. And then, you know, you have blood pressure. Maybe cook the meal without salt. And everyone else who doesn't have blood pressure active at the time or whatnot could add a little bit of salt and pepper and other seasonings after and so forth, you know. So, as I said, there's a seasoning out there for blood pressure called Mrs. Dash. That's good. For diabetics, there's alternate sugars out there, like one's called stevia, there's sugars made of coconut. There's so many alternative type of sugars out there that we could put in tea, taste sweet, and, you know, it doesn't raise your glycemic index as much, the sugar level in the blood.
And I'm thinking that's when you say that it has to do with lifestyle changes, that's exactly what you're referring to. We may have to make that decision to move away from what we traditionally are used to.
Right. We got to do that. And you know what? Like, you know, as I say, some smokers, they stop smoking. They add years to your life. Changing, I think that in Carriacou, Grenada, Pitamatic, if people change a lot of their lifestyle and do what they can do, down the road, you'll save yourself a lot of problems. Maybe you'll save yourself having kidney problems. Save yourself from, so many people are here in Grenada, Carriacou, having kidney problems, having, you know, amputations because of diabetes and other issues. We could stop a lot of that by the part we take.
8 minutes on to the hour. We have a caller live on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I'd like to find out if there's a difference between sodium and salt. Thank you.
Is there a difference between sodium and salt?
To answer that, sodium and salt are one and two are the same thing. The chemical compound for salt is written as a capital N, small a with a plus, and it means natrium. So the names for salt are natrium, medically, chemically, salt, generically on the street, and sodium from like industry says sodium. They are all the same. Natrium, sodium, salt. One in the three are the same thing. Exactly the same. Okay? Hopefully that answers your question.
5 minutes on to the hour at 10 o'clock. My guest this morning, a registered nurse, Solomon Fernand, and the conversation surrounds diabetes and hypertension. Solomon, does diabetes affect men and women differently?
Yes, it does. Well, let's get to that part. For men, what it does, because it affects flow of blood through the vessels and everything, especially for men, married men and active men, sexually, it affects the potency of their erection for men, especially. I mean, apart from the sexual health is affected apart from the kidneys and the feet, and having those issues. For women, the same flow has an issue, but women have what we call a normal flora on our skin, like Staph aureus, and women have a certain flora within their private cavity area. And sometimes the excess sugar could lead to a lot of yeast infections for women. So diabetes affects men in a sexual way and women in regards to, feminine hygiene and yeast, okay? So that's how the diabetes affects us. Blood pressure also affects men because it affects the vessels, it affects potency regarding erectile function for men, and so forth, and libido. And the same thing for women, like they say libido for women, but more affects men, the blood pressure, sexually than women from what is recorded. So both illnesses could lead to problems in that regard for men and women. All right?
Thank you. 4 minutes on to the hour. We just about ready to wrap. I'm going to give you the next minute or so solo just to encapsulate our conversation this morning and to leave some last minute tips and recommendations to our viewers and listeners.
1 minute?
Two for the most.
We have 1 minute? Okay. Well, as I said, I'll encourage everyone to get checked. As I said, have a blood pressure cuff at home. Get a pulse ox if you can. Check yourself now and again. Hopefully, Nurses Care of Grenada, I was speaking to Marilyn, and hopefully they could start doing some type of drives around the area, maybe in local schools or churches where people who think they may have diabetes or blood pressure come to screening. But the main thing is, what's your diet with both, what's your sugar with the diabetes, what's your sodium intake, salt intake with the blood pressure. Try to exercise if you can as much as possible. Pay attention to yourself if you're feeling excessive thirst, excessive hunger, urinating more than normal, and then see your doctor, try to get a diabetic check. Go get yourself, your blood pressure checked. I know that blood pressure is a silent killer, but you could find out if you have it and you could control it. Diabetes, if you have it, sometimes people have known to walk and they had it and it becomes diet control without needing necessitating medications, you know what I mean? So, that happens. So, everyone should just take care of yourselves and, hopefully we could bring down the incidence of people having kidney problems, needing dialysis, and bring down a lot of the feet amputations and so forth, and bring down, erectile, bring down the problems people may not be speaking about right now, like erectile dysfunction because of these issues.
Thank you, Solomon Ferdinand, registered nurse practicing in the U.S. And certainly we want to encourage you. I think it is safe to say lifestyle changes ultimately is what's needed. Whether you are personally dealing with these existing conditions, I think we'll all agree that we all, as we head into 2022, need to just do whatever it takes to focus a little bit more on ourselves. Until then, folks, for all of our listeners and viewers, wherever you are, here at home, across the region, this is as far as we can take you until another place and time, which is tomorrow. Programming wise, at 11 o'clock, we will rejoin you on television, and then my guests, I'll be speaking with representatives from the Spotlight Initiative and attorney Dashan Ramdani as we look at the incidents of violence against women and girls. What does the law say about it, and how do we attempt to curb that ever increasing and growing menace? Until then, so long, everybody, and JC loves you.